I saw the photos on social media at 9 o'clock on a Saturday morning. My daughter Sophie celebrating her 5th wedding anniversary at a fancy restaurant with champagne and flowers and a beautiful cake. Surrounded by friends and family. Everyone dressed up, everyone smiling, everyone having the time of their lives. Everyone except me. Because I wasn't there. I wasn't invited. My own daughter's anniversary celebration, and I had no idea it was even happening. I scrolled through the photos with shaking hands. There was Sophie in a gorgeous red dress, her husband Marcus in a suit. His parents at the table, his brother and sister-in-law, Sophie's best friend from college, her co-workers, even her father's sister, my ex-sister-in-law who I barely spoke to anymore. But not me, her mother, the woman who gave birth to her, who raised her, who sacrificed everything for her. Not invited, not even told it was happening. I kept scrolling, looking for some explanation, some clue. Maybe I was supposed to be there and forgot? Maybe there was a miscommunication? But no. The caption on one photo said it all. Celebrating 5 amazing years with everyone we love. Everyone we love. Everyone except her mother. I put my phone down, stared at the wall of my small apartment. The apartment I had moved to after the divorce 3 years ago. The apartment Sophie had never once visited. And I tried to understand. Tried to figure out what I had done wrong. Why my daughter would celebrate such an important milestone without me. We hadn't fought. At least not recently. Sure, things had been strained since the divorce. But that wasn't my fault. Her father left me for a woman 20 years younger. A woman he worked with. A woman who was closer in age to Sophie than to him. I thought Sophie would understand, would support me, would be on my side, but she wasn't. She stayed neutral. Said she didn't want to choose between her parents. That she loved both of us. That the divorce didn't change her relationship with either of us. Except it did. Because somehow I became the bad guy. The bitter ex-wife. The woman who couldn't let go. All because I refused to pretend everything was fine. Refused to smile and be polite at family gatherings where Richard's new girlfriend showed up. Refused to act like my heart wasn't broken. So I started getting invited to fewer things. Started being left out. Started becoming invisible in my own daughter's life. But this was different. This was her wedding anniversary. A major milestone. And she had deliberately chosen not to include me. I picked up my phone. Called her number. It rang 4 times and went to voicemail. Sophie, it's Mom. I saw the photos from last night. I didn't know you were celebrating your anniversary. I would have loved to be there. Call me back. I tried to keep my voice steady. Tried not to sound hurt. Tried not to cry. But as soon as I hung up, the tears came. Hot and angry and full of pain. How did I get here? How did I go from being the center of my daughter's world to being someone she couldn't even invite to her anniversary party? I thought back to when Sophie was little, how she used to cling to me, how she would cry when I dropped her off at school, how she said I was her best friend. I thought about her teenage years, the fights we had, the slammed doors, the screamed "I hate yous" that all mothers and teenage daughters go through. But we got through it. We came out the other side closer than ever. When she went to college, we talked every day. When she met Marcus, she couldn't wait to introduce us. I liked Marcus. He was kind, hardworking, treated Sophie well. I was happy when they got engaged. Thrilled when they got married. The wedding was 5 years ago. A beautiful outdoor ceremony. Sophie looked like a princess in her white dress. I cried through the whole thing. Happy tears. Proud tears. My baby was getting married. I gave a speech at the reception, talked about how proud I was, how much I loved her, how happy I was that she found someone who made her smile. Everyone applauded. Sophie hugged me, told me she loved me, that she was so lucky to have me as a mom. That was 5 years ago, and now she couldn't even invite me to her anniversary dinner. My phone rang. I grabbed it, hoping it was Sophie calling back. But it was my sister Linda. Did you see the photos? Yeah, I saw them. Are you okay? No, I'm really not. I can't believe she didn't invite you. That's so messed up. I don't understand, Linda. What did I do? Why does she hate me? She doesn't hate you. Then why wasn't I there? Why am I the only family member who got excluded? Linda was quiet for a moment. Then she said something that made my blood run cold. Margaret, there's something you need to know. Something I probably should have told you months ago. But I didn't want to hurt you. And I thought maybe it would blow over. What? What are you talking about? Sophie told me she's been pulling away from you because of how you've been acting since the divorce. How I've been acting? What does that mean? The constant calls, the crying, the venting about Richard, the guilt trips about being alone, the comments about Marcus's family. She said it's exhausting. That every conversation turns into you complaining about your life. That's not true. I don't do that. Margaret, you kind of do. I love you. You're my sister. But you've been stuck in this victim mentality for 3 years, and it's pushing everyone away, including Sophie. I felt like I had been slapped. My own sister was saying I was the problem, that I was pushing my daughter away. I have a right to be upset. My husband of 28 years left me for someone half his age. I lost everything. You lost your marriage. You didn't lose everything. You have your health, your family, your friends. But you're so focused on what you lost that you can't see what you still have. You don't understand. You're right. I don't. Because when Tom and I got divorced, I picked myself up and moved on. I didn't spend years wallowing and making everyone around me miserable. That's not fair, isn't it? Margaret, when was the last time you asked Sophie about her life? Her job? Her marriage? Her dreams? When was the last time you showed interest in anything other than your own pain? I talk to Sophie all the time. You talk at her. You don't listen. You call her crying. You text her about Richard. You make everything about you. That's not true. It is true. And if you don't believe me, maybe you should ask Sophie herself. Actually have a real conversation. Listen to what she has to say. Linda hung up, and I sat there in my apartment, alone. Angry, hurt, confused. Was she right? Had I been pushing Sophie away? Had I been so consumed by my own pain that I couldn't see how it was affecting everyone else? I thought about the last few times I talked to Sophie, tried to remember the conversations, and slowly, reluctantly, I realized Linda might have a point. 2 weeks ago, Sophie called to tell me she got a promotion at work. I said, "Congratulations." And then I spent 20 minutes talking about how Richard got a promotion too, and how unfair it was that he got to move on and be happy while I was stuck. A month before that, Sophie invited me to dinner. I spent the entire meal complaining about how lonely I was, how hard it was to be single at 55, how all our couple friends had chosen Richard and his girlfriend over me. I didn't ask Sophie about her life, about her marriage, about anything. And before that, every conversation was about me, my pain, my anger, my bitterness. Oh God. Linda was right. I had been pushing Sophie away. I had been making everything about me. And I hadn't even realized it. I called Sophie again. This time she answered, "Hi, Mom." Her voice was flat, tired, like she was bracing herself for whatever I was about to say. "Sophie, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I wasn't invited last night. But more than that, I'm sorry for how I've been acting. I didn't realize I was making everything about me. I didn't realize I was pushing you away." She was quiet for a long moment. "Mom, I love you, but I can't keep being your therapist. I can't keep being the person you dump all your feelings on. It's too much. I know, and I'm sorry. I should have gotten an actual therapist. Shouldn't have put that on you. It's not just the venting, it's everything. You refuse to move on. You refuse to be happy. You're stuck in this loop of anger and bitterness. And it's exhausting to be around. I'm trying, Sophie. I really am. Are you? Because from where I'm sitting, it doesn't look like you're trying. It looks like you're wallowing, like you want to be miserable. That's not true. Then prove it. Get therapy. Join a club. Make new friends. Find a hobby. Do something other than sitting in your apartment feeling sorry for yourself. I do things. I have friends. Who? Name 3 friends you've hung out with in the last month. I opened my mouth, then closed it. Because I couldn't, I had been isolating myself, pushing everyone away, living in my own bubble of misery. That's what I thought, Sophie said. Mom, I love you. But I can't watch you destroy yourself anymore. I can't keep enabling this behavior. So what are you saying? You don't want me in your life. I'm saying I need boundaries. I'm saying I need you to get help. I'm saying I need you to take responsibility for your own happiness instead of making it everyone else's problem. And the anniversary party? Why wasn't I invited? Because I knew it would turn into a thing. You would make comments about Marcus's parents, about how they're still married after 30 years, about how lucky Marcus is to have an intact family. You would make it about you and Dad instead of about me and Marcus. I wouldn't have done that. You would have, Mom. You always do. At Christmas, you made comments about how sad it was that our family was broken. At Easter, you cried through the entire meal. At my birthday, you spent half the party talking about how Dad forgot your birthday last year. Oh, yeah. Oh. So I decided it was easier to just not invite you. And I know that sounds harsh, but I needed one night. One celebration that was just about Marcus and me. Without the drama. I'm so sorry, Sophie. I had no idea I was doing that. I know. That's the problem. You're so wrapped up in your own pain that you can't see how it affects everyone else. What can I do? How do I fix this? Get therapy. Real therapy. Not just talking to me or Aunt Linda or your friends. Professional help. Someone who can help you process the divorce and move forward. Okay, I'll do that. And Mom? I need space. For a while. I need you to stop calling me every day. Stop texting me about Dad. Stop using me as your emotional support system. For how long? I don't know. Until you're in a better place. Until you can have a conversation that isn't about your divorce. That hurt. More than anything, my daughter was asking me to stay away, to give her space, to stop being such a burden. But she was right. I knew she was right. Okay, I understand. I'll get help. And I'll give you space. Thank you. Sophie, I love you. And I'm sorry for everything. I love you too, Mom. She hung up. And I sat there in my apartment, really seeing it for the first time in months. It was dark. The curtains were always closed. There were dishes in the sink, laundry piled up, mail unopened on the counter. When had I let things get this bad? I looked at myself in the mirror. Really looked. My hair was greasy. I was still in pajamas even though it was almost noon. I had dark circles under my eyes. I looked like I had given up. Because I had. I had given up on everything. My appearance. My home. My relationships. My life. Richard left me 3 years ago. 3 years. And I was still acting like it happened yesterday. That had to stop. It had to stop now. I pulled out my phone. Googled therapists in my area. Made an appointment with the first one who had availability. A woman named Dr. Chen, who specialized in divorce and life transitions. Then I opened the curtains. Let the sunlight in for the first time in weeks. Started cleaning. Doing dishes, taking out trash, folding laundry. I showered, washed my hair. Put on actual clothes. Not workout clothes or pajamas, real clothes. I looked at myself in the mirror again. Still tired, still sad, but a little bit better. This was going to be hard. Harder than anything I had done in a long time. But I had to do it. For Sophie, for myself, for my future. My first therapy appointment was on Tuesday. I was nervous walking into Dr. Chen's office. Nervous about what she would think of me. Nervous about having to be vulnerable with a stranger. But Dr. Chen was kind, patient. She didn't judge me, just listened as I told her everything. About the divorce, about Sophie, about how I had let myself spiral. And at the end of the session, she said something that stuck with me. Margaret, grief is natural, anger is natural. But staying stuck in those emotions for 3 years isn't healthy. You need to process what happened, feel the feelings, and then let them go. I don't know how to let go. That's what we're going to work on, together. I left that first appointment feeling lighter, not healed, not fixed, but hopeful. For the first time in 3 years, I felt hope. Over the next few weeks, I went to therapy twice a week. Dr. Chen helped me understand why I had been so stuck. Why? I couldn't move on from the divorce. It wasn't really about Richard, it was about my identity. I had been a wife for 28 years. A mother. That's how I defined myself. And when Richard left, I lost that identity. I didn't know who I was anymore, so I clung to the anger, to the pain, to the victim narrative, because at least that was something. At least that gave me a role to play. But it wasn't sustainable, and it was destroying my relationship with Sophie. Dr. Chen gave me homework, things to do between sessions, join a group, make new friends, find hobbies, rediscover who Margaret was beyond wife and mother. So I did. I joined a book club at the local library, started going to a yoga class, volunteered at an animal shelter. At first, it felt forced, awkward. I didn't know how to talk to people without bringing up my divorce, without making myself the victim. But slowly, I learned to have conversations that weren't about me, learned to listen, learned to be interested in other people's lives. I made friends, real friends, women who didn't know about my divorce, who just knew me as Margaret, the woman who loved books, who was terrible at yoga but tried anyway, who had a soft spot for senior dogs at the shelter. And for the first time in 3 years, I started to feel like myself again. I stopped calling Sophie every day, stopped texting her about Richard, stopped using her as my therapist. It was hard, so hard, because I wanted to talk to her, wanted to hear her voice, wanted to be part of her life, but I respected her boundaries, gave her the space she asked for. 2 months passed, then 3. I wondered if Sophie would ever reach out, if I had lost her forever. But then, one Saturday morning, my phone rang. Sophie's name on the screen. My heart raced. This was it. She was either going to tell me she was ready to reconnect, or she was going to tell me she needed more space. I answered. Hi, Sophie. Hi, Mom. How are you? I'm good. Really good, actually. How are you? I'm good, too. Marcus and I are doing well. Work is busy but good. That's wonderful. I'm so happy for you. There was a pause. Then Sophie said something that made me smile. Mom, you sound different. Better. I'm in therapy. Twice a week. It's helping a lot. I'm glad. Really glad. We talked for half an hour. A real conversation. She told me about her work, about a project she was leading, about Marcus's new job, about their plans to buy a house. And I listened, actually listened, asked questions, showed genuine interest. Didn't make it about me even once. At the end of the call, Sophie said something that made me cry. Happy tears this time. Mom, I miss you. I'd like to see you. Maybe have lunch next week? I would love that. We met for lunch the following Wednesday. At a small cafe near her office, she looked beautiful, happy, healthy. We hugged, a real hug, not the stiff, awkward ones we had been doing for the past few years. "You look good, Mom. Really good. Thank you. I feel good. Better than I have in a long time." We ordered food, and then we talked, really talked, about her life, her dreams, her fears, her hopes. I told her about therapy, about the book club and yoga and the animal shelter, about how I was rediscovering myself. And Sophie listened, without judgment, without suspicion, just listened. Halfway through lunch, she reached across the table and took my hand. "I'm proud of you, Mom. I know how hard this must be, but you're doing it. You're changing, growing, moving forward. I'm trying. For you, for myself. Not just for me, for yourself. That's what matters." I realized something in therapy. I had been making you responsible for my happiness, and that wasn't fair. My happiness is my responsibility, not yours, not anyone else's. Thank you for saying that. And thank you for doing the work, for not giving up. I'll never give up on us. Sophie, you're my daughter. I love you. I love you too, Mom. We finished lunch, made plans to see each other again in 2 weeks. Small steps, rebuilding slowly. As I drove home, I thought about how far I had come. 3 months ago, I was wallowing in self-pity, pushing everyone away, making my pain everyone's problem. Now, I was actively working on myself, building a life, rediscovering my identity. It wasn't easy. Some days were harder than others. Some days I wanted to call Sophie crying, wanted to vent about Richard, wanted to fall back into old patterns. But I didn't. I called Dr. Chen instead. Talked to my new friends, went to yoga, played with dogs at the shelter. I was building a support system, one that didn't rely solely on Sophie, one that was healthy and sustainable. 6 months after that first anniversary party I wasn't invited to, Sophie called me with news. "Mom, Marcus and I are having a dinner party next month for his birthday, and we'd love for you to come. Really, really. But Mom, I need to tell you something. Dad and his girlfriend will be there too." My stomach clenched. The old Margaret would have made excuses, would have said she couldn't come, would have made it a thing. But I wasn't the old Margaret anymore. "That's fine. I can handle it. It's Marcus's birthday. This isn't about me and your father. It's about celebrating Marcus." Sophie was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Thank you, Mom. That means a lot." The dinner party was at Sophie and Marcus's new house. They had just bought it. A beautiful 3-bedroom in a nice neighborhood. I arrived with a present for Marcus, a bottle of his favorite whiskey, and I was determined to be positive, to focus on celebrating him, to not make anything about me. Richard and his girlfriend Amber were already there when I arrived, sitting on the couch, his arm around her, looking comfortable, looking happy. It hurt, I won't lie, seeing him with her. After everything, it hurt. But I smiled, walked over, said hello, was polite, friendly even. Richard looked shocked, like he was waiting for me to make a scene, to say something bitter. But I didn't. I congratulated him on his recent retirement, asked about his golf game, made small talk like a normal person, and then I moved on. Talked to other guests, helped Sophie in the kitchen, played with their cat. I didn't make it about me. Didn't cry, didn't complain, didn't even think about it that much. Because I was genuinely happy to be there. Happy to see Sophie, happy to celebrate Marcus. At one point, Sophie pulled me aside. "Mom, thank you. For being here. For being normal. For not making this weird. I'm trying. And I'm genuinely happy to be here. I can tell, and it means everything to me." After the party, several people told me how good I looked, how happy I seemed. how different I was from the last time they saw me. And they were right. I was different. I had done the work, put in the effort, changed my life. It wasn't easy. It took months of therapy, of forcing myself out of my comfort zone, of building new relationships and rediscovering old hobbies. But it was worth it, because I got my daughter back, got my life back, got myself back. A year after that first anniversary party, Sophie called me on a random Tuesday. "Mom, I have something to tell you." "What's up?" "I'm pregnant. You're going to be a grandmother," I screamed. Actually screamed with joy. Sophie laughed on the other end. "Oh my God, Sophie. This is the best news ever." "I know, we're so excited. And Mom, I want you to be involved. I want you to be part of this baby's life. I want you at doctor's appointments and baby showers and everything. I would love that. Nothing would make me happier." We talked for an hour. About her due date, about names, about plans. And I cried. But not sad tears. Happy tears, grateful tears. Because I almost lost this. Almost lost my relationship with Sophie because I was too stuck in my own pain to see what I was doing. But I changed. I grew. I did the work. And now I got to be part of this. Got to be a grandmother. Got to be in my daughter's life again. The baby was born 7 months later. A beautiful little girl named Emma. "Sophie, let me be in the delivery room. Let me hold Emma minutes after she was born." And as I looked at this tiny, perfect human, I made a promise. I would never let my pain affect my relationships again. I would never take my family for granted again. I would be the grandmother Emma deserved. Sophie's pregnancy had been smooth, but those last few weeks before Emma arrived were filled with preparation. Sophie asked me to help set up the nursery, a simple request that meant the world to me. It meant she trusted me, wanted me involved, saw me as someone reliable, not someone who would make everything about herself. We spent a Saturday afternoon assembling the crib, hanging curtains, organizing tiny clothes. Marcus was there too, struggling with the instruction manual, while Sophie and I laughed at his confusion. It felt normal, easy, like family should feel. "Mom, thank you for being here," Sophie said while folding impossibly small onesies. "Not just today, but for changing, for doing the work. I know it wasn't easy. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. But losing you would have been harder. You never lost me. I just needed you to find yourself first." That hit me hard. Because she was right. I had lost myself in the divorce, in the anger and bitterness. And I needed to find Margaret again before I could be a good mother, a good grandmother, a good person. When Emma was born, I was careful, respectful of boundaries. I didn't show up uninvited, didn't call constantly, didn't offer unsolicited advice. I waited to be asked, helped when needed, stepped back when necessary. And Sophie appreciated it. Would call me when she needed support, when she was exhausted and overwhelmed, when she just wanted her mom. But the calls weren't one-sided anymore. I'd also share about my life, about the book I was reading, about the new yoga pose I'd finally mastered, about the senior dog I was fostering from the shelter. We had real conversations, real relationships, built on mutual respect and healthy boundaries. Emma's first birthday party was another milestone. Sophie and Marcus threw a big celebration. Family and friends, balloons and cake. Emma in a tiny party dress, smashing her face into frosting. And I was there. Of course I was there, but so was Richard and Amber. And I was okay with it. We weren't friends, probably never would be, but we could be civil, could coexist at family events, could put Sophie and Emma first. At one point during the party, Richard pulled me aside. "Margaret, can we talk for a minute?" I tensed, wondering what he wanted. If this was going to be awkward or confrontational. Sure. We walked out to the backyard, away from the noise and chaos of the party. I wanted to say something, Richard started. I've noticed the changes in you, the way you've been handling things, and I'm impressed. You seem genuinely happy. I am happy. It took a lot of work, a lot of downs, therapy, but I got there. I'm glad, and I'm sorry for how things ended, for how I handled everything. I was a coward. I should have been honest with you sooner. Should have ended things properly before starting something with Amber. I looked at him. This man I'd been married to for 28 years. This man who'd broken my heart. This man I'd spent 3 years hating. And I felt nothing. No anger, no bitterness, no longing, just nothing. Thank you for saying that. I appreciate the apology. Do you forgive me? I thought about it. Really thought about it. Did I forgive him? I'm working on it. Forgiveness isn't a one-time thing. It's a process. But I'm getting there. Because holding on to anger was only hurting me. Not you. He nodded. Fair enough. And Margaret? For what it's worth, I think you're doing great. Sophie talks about you all the time, about how proud she is of you, how you've rebuilt your life. She talks about me all the time. You're her hero. The way you turned things around. The way you didn't let the divorce destroy you. After Richard walked away, I sat on the patio for a moment, processing. 3 years ago, I would have killed for that conversation, for his apology, for his acknowledgement that he was wrong. But now, it was nice to hear. But it didn't change anything. Didn't validate me. Didn't heal me. Because I had already done that work myself. I didn't need Richard's apology to move on. I had already moved on, built a life I loved, became a person I was proud of. His apology was just a bonus, a cherry on top of the life I'd already rebuilt. 2 years after Emma's birth, Sophie called with more news. She was pregnant again. A boy this time. They were naming him Oliver. And just like with Emma, Sophie wanted me involved. Doctor's appointments, baby shopping, setting up the nursery, all of it. Oliver was born on a Tuesday afternoon. Another perfect, healthy baby. And I held him with the same awe and love I'd felt with Emma. You're a natural grandma, Marcus said, watching me rock Oliver. Emma adores you. And I'm sure Oliver will too. Being a grandmother is the best thing that's ever happened to me. Well, besides being Sophie's mom. Sophie smiled from her hospital bed. I'm glad I get to share this with you, Mom. Really glad. Around this time, Dr. Chen suggested I might be ready to reduce our sessions. We'd been meeting weekly for almost 2 years. I'd done the work, made the changes, built the life I wanted. You've come so far, Margaret, she said during one of our sessions. You're not the woman who walked into my office 2 years ago. You've transformed. I don't know if I'm ready to stop therapy completely. We don't have to stop. But maybe we reduce to monthly check-ins? You have the tools now. You know how to process emotions healthily, how to set boundaries, how to maintain relationships without losing yourself. She was right. I did have the tools, and I was using them. Every day, in every relationship, we moved to monthly sessions, and it felt right. Like graduation, like I'd passed some important test. My life continued to evolve. At book club, I became close friends with a woman named Patricia. She was also divorced, also rebuilding. We understood each other in ways others couldn't. Patricia introduced me to hiking. Real hiking. Not just walks in the park, but actual trails in the mountains. It was challenging, physical, forced me to focus on the present moment instead of dwelling on the past. I started hiking every weekend. Sometimes with Patricia, sometimes with a group from the hiking club she introduced me to, sometimes alone. There was something meditative about hiking, about pushing your body, about reaching a summit and seeing the view, about accomplishing something difficult. It reminded me of my journey, the hard climb, the struggle, the moments I wanted to quit. but also the satisfaction of reaching the top, of looking back and seeing how far I'd come. One Saturday, about 3 years after that first anniversary party, I was hiking alone, thinking about everything. About Richard, the divorce, the dark years. Sophie's boundaries, the therapy, the change. And I realized something profound. I was grateful. Actually, genuinely grateful for all of it. Grateful for the divorce because it forced me to find myself. Grateful for hitting rock bottom because it gave me nowhere to go but up. Grateful for Sophie's boundaries because they pushed me to get help. Grateful for the pain because it taught me strength. I wouldn't have chosen any of it, but I wouldn't change it either. Because that journey made me who I was. Strong, independent, happy, whole. When I got back from the hike, Sophie had texted me, "Mom, can you babysit tomorrow? Marcus and I want to have a date night." A simple text, a simple request. But it meant everything. It meant Sophie trusted me, relied on me, wanted me in her children's lives. Of course, would love to. What time? I showed up at Sophie's house the next evening. Emma, now 3, ran to the door when I arrived. "Grandma! Grandma!" I scooped her up, hugged her tight. She smelled like shampoo and graham crackers. "Hi, sweet girl. Are you ready to have fun with Grandma tonight?" "Yes. We can play princess and have ice cream and watch movies." Sophie laughed. "Not too much ice cream, Emma. And not too late bedtime, Mom? I promise." Reasonable amounts of ice cream and reasonable bedtime. Sophie and Marcus left, and I spent the evening with my grandchildren, playing, reading stories, giving baths, tucking them into bed. Emma fell asleep holding my hand. "I love you, Grandma," she whispered. "I love you too, baby girl." After both kids were asleep, I sat in Sophie's living room, looking at family photos on the walls, photos of Sophie and Marcus's wedding, Emma as a baby, Oliver's newborn pictures, and several photos of me with the kids. I was part of this family. Not just included, but valued, wanted, loved. 3 years ago, I didn't think this was possible. Didn't think Sophie would ever let me back in. Didn't think I'd ever be happy again. But here I was, babysitting my grandchildren, part of my daughter's life, living proof that change is possible, that you can hit rock bottom and climb back up, that it's never too late to become the person you were meant to be. When Sophie and Marcus came home, Sophie hugged me at the door. "Thank you for watching them. Emma told me you played princess for an hour. You didn't have to do that. I wanted to. I love spending time with them. I know, and they love you. Emma talks about you all the time, about how Grandma takes her to the park and reads her favorite books and makes the best pancakes. She's easy to love. So are you, Mom." After I left Sophie's house, I drove home with tears in my eyes, happy tears, grateful tears. 4 years after that first anniversary party, Sophie threw me a surprise party for my 58th birthday at her house with all my friends from book club and yoga and the hiking club and the animal shelter, and with family, Linda, Sophie and Marcus, Emma and Oliver. Even Richard and Amber were there, and I didn't mind, because I had moved on. I had let go of the anger, the bitterness, the victim mentality. I had built a new life, one I was proud of, one that made me happy. Sophie gave a speech at the party, talked about how proud she was of me, how far I had come, how I had transformed my life. And she ended with something that made everyone cry. "Mom, 4 years ago, I didn't know if we would ever have a real relationship again. I didn't know if you would ever be able to move past the divorce. But you proved me wrong. You did the hard work. You changed. And now I get to have my mom back. Emma and Oliver get to have the most amazing grandmother, and I'm so grateful." I hugged her, cried on her shoulder, thanked her for not giving up on me, for pushing me to get help, for setting boundaries. because those boundaries saved us, saved our relationship. Later that evening, after most of the guests had left, I found myself sitting on Sophie's back porch with Linda. The Texas evening was warm, cicadas singing their endless song. We held glasses of wine and watched Emma and Oliver chase fireflies in the yard. "You did it," Linda said quietly. "I'm so proud of you, Margaret." I almost didn't. There were so many times I wanted to quit, to give up, to tell Dr. Chen it was too hard. But you didn't. No. Because I kept thinking about Sophie, about losing her. That scared me more than anything else. Linda squeezed my hand. "You know what's amazing? You did this for Sophie initially, but somewhere along the way, you started doing it for yourself." She was right. In the beginning, every therapy session, every yoga class, every book club meeting was motivated by fear. Fear of losing Sophie permanently. Fear of being alone forever. Fear of becoming the bitter old woman everyone avoided. But gradually, something shifted. I started to enjoy the person I was becoming. Started to like waking up in the morning. Started to feel excited about my life instead of dreading it. The work stopped being about Sophie and became about me. About rediscovering Margaret. About building a life I actually wanted to live. "Remember when you called me that morning?" Linda asked. "After you saw the anniversary photos, how could I forget? I was a mess. You were. But you were also ready. Ready to hear the truth. Ready to change. If I had told you those things a year earlier, you would have gotten defensive. Hung up on me. But that morning, you were finally ready to listen. It still hurt, hearing you say I was the problem. I know. And I'm sorry it had to be so harsh. But sometimes people need harsh truth. Sometimes love means being brutally honest instead of comforting. I watched Sophie through the bed window, laughing with Marcus as they cleaned up the kitchen. My daughter, happy, healthy, free from the burden of being my therapist. The best gift I ever gave her was letting her go. I said, respecting her boundaries, giving her space. And the best gift she gave you was setting those boundaries in the first place, Linda added. She could have just kept enabling you, kept letting you use her as a dumping ground. But she loved you enough to say no, to demand better from you. She saved my life. You saved your own life, Margaret. Sophie just showed you the door. You're the one who walked through it. 5 years after the anniversary party that changed everything, Sophie called me with an invitation. Mom, Marcus and I are renewing our vows for our 10th anniversary, and we'd love for you to be there. Actually, we'd love for you to do a reading during the ceremony. My heart swelled. Sophie, I would be honored. It's going to be small, just family and close friends, at the same venue where we got married. We wanted to come full circle. That sounds perfect. And Mom, I want you to know something. These past 5 years, having you in my life in a healthy way, it's been everything. You're not just my mom anymore. You're my friend. Someone I actually want to spend time with. Someone I admire. I couldn't speak. Tears choked my throat. I'm so proud of the woman you've become, Sophie continued. And I'm grateful every day that you chose to do the work, that you chose us, chose yourself. Thank you for giving me the chance, for not giving up on me completely. I could never give up on you, Mom. I just needed you to not give up on yourself. The vow renewal was beautiful. Held on a crisp October afternoon, the same month they'd originally married. Sophie wore a cream-colored dress, elegant and simple. Marcus wore a navy suit. Emma, now 5, was the flower girl. Oliver, 3, was the ring bearer who forgot his job and tried to eat the rings instead. Everyone laughed. It was perfect. When it came time for my reading, I stood before the small gathering, looked at Sophie and Marcus, at my grandchildren, at the life I'd nearly lost. I read from The Velveteen Rabbit, Sophie's favorite book as a child. Real isn't how you are made, said the skin horse. It's a thing that happens to you. When a child loves you for a long, long time, not just to play with, but really loves you, then you become real. Does it hurt? Asked the rabbit. Sometimes, said the skin horse, for he was always truthful. When you are real, you don't mind being hurt. Does it happen all at once, like being wound up? He asked, or bit by bit. It doesn't happen all at once, said the skin horse. You become. It takes a long time. That's why it doesn't happen often to people who break easily, or have sharp edges, or who have to be carefully kept. Generally, by the time you are real, most of your hair has been loved off, and your eyes drop out and you get loose in the joints and very shabby. But these things don't matter at all, because once you are real, you can't be ugly, except to people who don't understand. My voice broke on the last line, because I understood it now. Really understood it. Becoming real hurt. The process of transformation was painful. I had to lose my sharp edges, had to be worn down, had to become shabby and loose in the joints. But it made me real, made me whole, made me into someone who could love and be loved without conditions, without agenda, without making everything about my pain. After the ceremony, during the reception, Marcus found me. Margaret, thank you for that reading. It was perfect. Thank you for loving my daughter, for being patient with me, for not writing me off when I was at my worst. You're family, he said simply. And family is worth fighting for. I'm lucky Sophie found you. I'm the lucky one. Sophie is incredible. And you know what? Part of what makes her so incredible is you. The way she loves, the way she sets boundaries, the way she fights for her relationships, she learned that from watching you. Maybe not the old you, but definitely the you of these past few years. I had never thought about it that way. That my transformation might have taught Sophie something. That my struggle might have shown her how to fight for herself, how to demand better, how to not settle for less than she deserved. She's stronger than I ever was, I said. Maybe. Or maybe she just learned from your mistakes, so she didn't have to make them herself. That's what good parents do. They break so their children don't have to. After Marcus walked away, I sat down at one of the tables. Watched Sophie dance with Emma. Watched Oliver trying to steal cake from every plate he passed. Watched Richard and Amber laughing with some of Marcus's family. And I felt at peace, completely, totally at peace. This was my life now, not the one I'd planned, not the one I'd imagined back when I was married to Richard. But maybe better, because it was real, it was mine. I'd built it from the rubble of my old life. Patricia found me then, joining me at the table. We'd become inseparable over the years. She was my hiking buddy, my confidant, my reminder that life after divorce could be full and rich and joyful. You look happy, she said. I am. I really genuinely am. Remember that first hike? When you cried at the summit because you said you felt like you'd never reach the top of anything ever again? I laughed. I was so dramatic. You were hurting. There's a difference. I don't hurt anymore. At least not like that. I mean, I still have hard days. Still have moments when I feel lonely or sad or angry, but it doesn't consume me anymore. It doesn't define me. That's growth. That's survival. Patricia raised her glass. To survival. To thriving. To becoming the women we were always meant to be. We clinked glasses, and I looked around at this new life I'd built, at the friends I'd made, at the relationship I'd rebuilt with Sophie, at the grandchildren who loved me, at the version of myself I'd finally become. It had taken 4 years. 4 years of therapy, of hard work, of facing truths I didn't want to face, of changing patterns I didn't want to change, of becoming someone new while honoring who I'd always been underneath the pain. But I'd done it. I'd climbed out of the hole I'd dug for myself. I'd rebuilt the bridge to my daughter. I'd rediscovered joy. And standing there at Sophie's vow renewal, watching her celebrate 10 years of marriage, I realized something important. I hadn't just gotten my daughter back. I'd gotten myself back. The real me. The me who existed before I defined myself solely as Richard's wife. Before I let one man's choices destroy my sense of self. I was Margaret. Period. Not Margaret who was left. Not Margaret the victim. Not Margaret the bitter divorcee. Just Margaret. A woman who loved books and yoga and hiking. Who volunteered at animal shelters and showed up for her grandchildren. Who had real friendships and healthy boundaries. Who could sit in a room with her ex-husband and feel nothing but mild indifference. That evening, as I was leaving, Sophie walked me to my car. Emma held my hand on one side, Oliver on the other. Thank you for being here, Mom. For being you. Thank you for not giving up on me when I gave you every reason to. I could never give up on you. Even when I needed space, I never stopped loving you. I just needed you to love yourself enough to get help. I do now. Love myself, I mean. I actually like the person I've become, Sophie smiled. Good. Because we like her too. Actually, we love her. Emma tugged on my hand. Grandma, can we have a sleepover next weekend? Of course, sweet girl. We can make pancakes and read stories and play princess. And Oliver too? And Oliver too. I kissed Sophie. Goodbye. Hugged my grandchildren. Drove home to my apartment, which I'd finally decorated, finally made into a real home instead of just a place to hide from the world. And as I drove, I thought about that morning 5 years ago, when I'd seen those anniversary photos, when my world had collapsed, when I'd felt so lost and alone and betrayed. If someone had told me then that 5 years later I'd be happy, I wouldn't have believed them. If they'd said I'd be grateful for the divorce, for hitting rock bottom, for losing my daughter temporarily, I would have laughed in their face. But it was true, all of it. The pain had purpose, the struggle had meaning, the loss had led to gain. I wasn't the same woman who'd been left by her husband. I wasn't the same mother who'd suffocated her daughter with her neediness. I wasn't the same person who'd let her identity be defined by someone else's choices. I was new, better, stronger, whole. And that anniversary party I wasn't invited to? It was the best thing that never happened to me, because it forced me to look in the mirror, to see what I'd become, to make a choice, stay stuck or move forward. I chose forward. And it made all the difference. That night, lying in bed, my phone buzzed with a text from Sophie. Mom, I've been thinking about writing down our story, about the anniversary party, about your transformation, about us finding our way back to each other. I think it might help other people who are struggling. Would you be okay with that? I smiled in the darkness. I'd be honored. If our story can help even one person, one mother and daughter who are struggling, it would be worth it. I love you, Mom. I love you too, Sophie. More than you'll ever know. I set my phone down, closed my eyes, and fell asleep in the peace that comes from knowing you've done the hard work. You've faced your demons. You've become real. And tomorrow, I'd wake up and keep being that person. Keep showing up, keep growing. Keep loving, because that's what it means to truly change. Not a one-time decision, but a daily choice. To be better, to do better, to live authentically instead of hiding behind pain. The anniversary party I wasn't invited to changed my life, but not because I wasn't there, because I finally looked at why I wasn't there and decided to become someone who would be. Someone worth knowing. Someone worth loving. Someone worth inviting to the celebration. Myself. Subscribe for more real stories like this.